I think it's worth $250 and it competes with IMs in that price. Price to performance seekers, look no further. You have found an excellent value for your repertoire. I love this hobby. It's a really great set for someone looking for a slightly tilted higher energy set. Tone Deaf Monk, welcome back. SR5, sound rhyme. Let's talk about it. You know what's funny? Last video is that I actually even forgot to tell you about the High Senior Mega 5P, that it was a 1+4, but I figured you guys are smart enough to figure it out on your own. And really, the rest of it, what matters most is the sound, right? So this is going to be, I'm going to do this one maybe a little longer. It deserves it. But I did a written review because I thought it deserved it. So this is kind of like my video of my written review. There you go. I had to sneak one of those in there today. So, new toys for me. Hibby R6 Pro 2. Love it. Definitely an improvement over the R6 III, sound-wise. I think so. And let's talk about the SoundRhyme SR5. Now, this bad boy I knew about from the hobby and the forums and everything. I actually didn't read much about it, or I just knew it was out there. And people liked what they heard. So, this is my take. What is it? It's a 1+4, 10 millimeter composite polymer nano composition dynamic driver with 4 Knowles BAs. 229.689 for the mids and 317.36s for the highs. A little bit different from some of the other configurations that I have seen. And yeah, they did a good job. 3-way crossover. 16 ohm resistance. Not sure what the sensitivity is, but I will tell you it's easy to drive. Versus the SoundRhyme, it needed probably half as much power. Very cool printed shells. These guys use the EnvisionTech German 3D printing process. It makes really nice, compact, well-molded shells that fit in your ear quite nicely. Here we go again. Fitment test. Quite nice. Comfortable for me. I'm using the TRI Clarion tips. I like quite a bit, actually. It was really good sounding on these. And it made them the most comfortable for me. Again, I like the countable features. Left side says SoundRhyme. Right side has the logo. It's upside down, but you get the idea. Got a little wing, again, molded on it. Very, very similar to the High Senior Mega 5P. Brass nozzle. Keeps the tip on quite nicely. There you go. No, that didn't work, but that's okay. Made it sound like it did. The stock cable is this one. I got it in 4.4. It's a SPC, silver-plated copper cable. And what's on it right now was a Black Soul clone cable. The composition is mostly copper. And that's where I'd tell you to go on this set is maybe the stock cable was fine, especially if you like your highs. And cables don't make a massive difference, people. Really, really don't. This one looks really cool on this, though. Tips, more importantly than anything else, they can really change the sound profile of your IAM. So if you haven't invested in some tips, you don't need to go crazy. 3 pairs of these things were $8 on Amazon Canada. So pretty cheap for a great tip. What else can I say? This unit I received courtesy of Penon, so thank you much for that. You know, I don't do disclaimers because I think it's disingenuous to say that. If you watched my videos, any of my videos, if something is bad, it gets called out. If it's great, it gets the praise. I haven't done a negative review in a while because I haven't picked anything bad. I did. Nope, that's a lie. These I haven't done a review on these things yet. I'm still debating. What are they? The XLS X8, something like that. They were $50 of. There's yeah. I'll post a link because this IEM I see everywhere else. AliExpress, they want way too much money, $250. So thank you to Penon for picking up Sound Rhyme. So it right now it's $149. I think it's worth $250 and it competes with IEMs in that price. But let's go into more. What I liked. Well, first of all, I liked the price point. I really, at $150, and again, it competes with sub 300 IEMs, same price to performance value under that. So, and half the price. I also, what stood out, the energy and the highs for me on this set are spectacular. I'm a bit treble sensitive. Comes into play a little bit into this set at really high volumes, but other than that, I loved it. Loved it. I love it a lot. I don't have another set actually that sounds quite like the SR5, and that makes it actually special for me. The highs really do give it a great sense of air and extension without fatigue, sibilance. I think if you're treble sensitive a bit like me, you won't have an issue unless, again, you're really dialing it up. The Knowles BA adds the details, the sparkles. I don't hear any BA timbre in this set for me. And the coherence between the driver and the balanced armatures are flawless. Stage is fantastically 3D. For me, I thought it was great. It was wide, it was deep, and it had height. Really had a good sense of depth, actually. So you'd be listening to a song, and where most a lot of IEMs, play in between your ears and center of your head. This really had a forward projection to it. I like that a lot. The sound signature, balanced sound with a tilt towards the extra energy in the upper end. Some other things that I loved, vocals that are slightly forward, but neutral in its tonality. They weren't warm and they weren't thin. Okay? But they play a little bit forward in the mix. That's what I meant by that. Sub bass over mid bass, nice depth when it asked for in the track, but not overly done. This is not a bass head IEM. Vocals are super clear, detailed, and present in a way that really holds your attention. That's important on a track, especially like me, who I really enjoy my female vocals, and that was a standout for me on this set. Overall, great tuning, really unique in the sub $300 price bracket. I have tried for me. It takes EQ like a champ. I used the Hibby Mage Sound 8-ball, added in some extra low-end extension and mid-bass impact, and I love the results. Without changing the upper end too much, which I really fell in love with. So the driver's quality, the dynamic driver, if you can, add, 8 dB sub boost and it doesn't bag out, winner chicken dinner. What I thought it needed improvement. Well, really, not much, especially at this price point. I mean, it's easy to pick apart. I also have a set from a friend, 64 audio U12T, sitting on my desk. I'm also listening to. It's multi-kilobuck I am. This is $150. So it's hard to pick it apart, especially at its price, to keep that in mind. I'd love to have a little bit more mid-bass, sure. But that's really about it on this set for me, that I thought, hey, but again, you want that, throw a little bit of EQ in it and away you go. Let's get into also, because I think it adds some relative clarity when it comes to some of the tracks and overall impressions that I listen to. So most of my listening impressions were done off of my new Hibby. It's a wonderful sounding player with the AKM, 8-core AKM DAC. It's amazing. Let's listen to some tracks. So track impressions. So again, these are not to be taken as overall impressions, but just what I heard per track. And I'll try to zip through it because there's a lot. But I want to give you some context. And I used a lot of these tracks, the same ones from the Neo 5, because I wanted to hear the difference between one that was bass heavy versus this one is leaning towards the other end, and how they both did for the same exact track. So number one, Never Be Me, live version by Miley Cyrus. Nice, well balanced between the bass lines, the vocals, and the highs are perfect for me. Miley's vocals do it for me on the SR5. Has some nice lower bass in this track, certainly not lacking. Okay, that were my notes. Number two, Prayer by Hani Arani. The low drone bass drops are well presented, enough to tickle your ear hairs, actually, but not give you a headache. So it's not a bass head I am. Bass seems to be focused in the lower bass between the sub and the mid bass region on this track, and you can tell from this track that it's not a bass head I am, and that's why I threw it in there. Rockland Wonderland by Kim Mitchell. So wishing for a tad more mid bass here on this one, the Attack, because I know when that track hits, if there's mid bass in it, it slams. It's awesome. But the vocals and highs from this track truly make it a standout listen, even at high volumes, right? So that was also, can I dial this thing up and what's it going to sound like, right? I love the highs on this track, the details, and the timbre of the guitar also sounded spot on. Queen of New York City, Matchbox 20s, male vocals. On this track, I was worried because of the extra high end energy, are they going to sound thin? So they weren't. So I know there's enough mid-bass energy to present the correct vocal tonality. Again, I said nice balance of bass vocals and treble. So that was my impression of that one. Number 6, Kashmir, Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, the hi-hats. That's so seductive. Upper energy is a nice change after listening to a bunch of darker sets. You kind of have to reset yourself, because if you went from a darker set to this set, you'd go, oh, this is really, really bright, but it isn't. Reset yourself and listen to this with fresh ears. Vocals and drums sound really good too. And I love the ability of the SR5 to pick out a live venue. It's a truly legit and 3D. So you could tell it was... and it was kind of funny. I was listening to this track again, and I don't know how many times, 1,000 times I've heard it. And nothing mentally clued in goes, oh, that's live. Because you hear clapping and people yelling and stuff like that, and then it kind of sunk in. Sometimes when I'm listening to that track and it's a darker track, you don't get that sense. And I did on the SR5. Money for Nothing, Dire Straits. This track I use, getting a sense of dynamics. I mean, it has, from low volume passages and it ramps up. I want to get a good sense of the depth and how it presents in. So the SR5 in this track is one of the ones I was talking about where it really presents in front of you, forward in front of you, and not just between your ears. So that's really talking about the stage. Not the overall hugest track dynamics and macro details, more of a natural presentation versus kind of what a U-shape signature would do. If, it's not laid back. It's right in the middle, and it's not overly spastic with the details. If that makes any sense, it must have to me because I wrote it down. Number 8, All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You by Heart. A good track to listen to female vocals. Here you can get a good sense of how forward the vocals are in the mix, and the SR5 is just slightly more forward in the mix, but it's really nicely balanced. So it's not presenting vocals that's all you hear and you don't get any bass or high end. It's a really nice balance. Great replay. Vocals were perfect, spot on. Casey Musgraves, another female vocalist. Butterflies is this song. Well balanced again, nice bass, perfect vocals. And number 10, The End, The End by the Kings of Leon. This one could be a more busy track. Left and right separation, center vocals, prominent instrumental mix. SR5 digs deep. Again, I love the high-end energy and vocal balance. Male vocals are bang on, and I got a really wide sense of stage and even more 3D. So I got 20 tracks I gotta just mention, and you're now getting a good sense from my notes of really where the SR5 comes in, right? You Make Loving Fun, Fleetwood Mac. On this song, you can tell the highs are perfectly controlled, and vocals come across as fantastic and even par with the low end. So again, there's a very great balance, but I do love mostly the energy up top. I really did. Not too much, but just enough to enhance the vocals. So, Nothing Else Matters by Metallica. This is live from the S&M 2 album. Crisp, clean, clear, amazing vocals. Sounds more like you're in... This is an interesting comment. Some IEMs, you sound like you're 100 rows back because that's all you could afford. And you're in this massive venue. Metallica's playing center stage. The orchestra's playing all the way around them. And you get a good sense of, how can the IM pick that up. In this particular case, the SR5 sounded like you were in that recording booth, not recording booth, but the sound booth, where it's probably, 30 rows in, so a little closer to the stage. But then when everyone started cheering and you could hear stuff behind you, that was a really cool 3D effect. That was very good, stand out. And rare, not too many IMs do that. The highs again, real standout. Nice wide stage, very 3D. Another Metallica track, but this time sung by Miley Cyrus and Elton John on piano. Nothing Else Matters. Bass hits go low, hits nicely. No mid-bass bloat, which you do get on some sets that bleed into the mid-bass. Not going to be a problem with the set. I'll pull up a graph later after these and you can take a look. But Miley's vocals so good. Here, it gets a bit splashy at really high volumes. Now, I just wanted to try that. I had the Dunu SNS tips in, and it was too much. I put the TRI Clarion tips in, and it was much better replay. And again, if I would have rolled a bit more, I probably could have got some of that little bit of that splashiness down at that kind of volumes. But for the rest of at my normal listening volumes, I was massively happy with that inexpensive tip, that what it did for this IM. 44876. You know this song from Sting and Shaggy. I'm going a bit fast here because I don't want to make this video too long. Perfect male vocals, nice balance overall, not a bass monster, but enough to get the point across and not wash out vocals. Number 15, Enter Sandman by Yong San Nan. I don't know if I was in a Metallica mood, but it's kind of funny that there's so many different Metallica songs sung so differently by different artists. This is a very cool track. Young Sun Na, riveting. Her voice, I've said this before on a couple IMs, the fan too, the same. Her voice and the strings, just wow. Goosebumps. Exclamation mark and a star. Number 16, Bubbles by Yoshi Horikawa. Puts in ambient sounds, sounds from nature, everyday sounds. Pretty cool artist. Crazy track for stage. How'd the SR5 do? One of the standout features I think of this set is not only the highs, but the stage, the 3D, the height, the width. Incredible details for placement and separation. It did a fantastic job. Moving on to something else. Number 17, Marvin Gaye, Charlie Puth, and Meghan Trainor. Easy to tell it's a duet, actually. And that's, again, not that easy on some IMs that can't pick that out, where you hear singing, but you can't clearly hear the both singers at the same time. And the SR5 did a fantastic job there. And they're both well-toned, both male and female. Bass is lovely. Old school reminded me of the Thumps. And if I forget to talk about the bass later on in the video, that's how the bass of the SR5 sounds. It sounds like an old school, nice, weighted, thumpy bass when it calls for. At the finger snaps, love that. And a lot of IMs miss that, that you can't pick up, or you don't pick up mentally. Number 18, Maddie by Malia. Strings and vocals are beautifully detailed. And one of the SR5 does instrumental strings, fantastic, really well done. Malia's voice comes off with the correct edge to her voice. It's kind of like Melissa Etheridge. They have a little bit of a grungy and I love that. Number 19, Vivaldi Double Cello Concerto Movement Number 1 by Tina Gao. Strings come across with passion and dynamics off the hook. Stereo separation, micro details are yummy and fun to listen to on this track, and the SR5 shines on this kind of music. Number 20, and finally, Rankin, live version by The Dead Can Dance. Another wow live presentation with melodic vocals, instrumental details, and a big open stage. SR5 cracked this one. It really did. With a huge realistic sense of venue and clarity. Very well done. That was something else I really loved because of the extra high-end energy, the clarity of instrumental placements, top-notch. Okay, overall impressions. SR5 actually shocked me sound-wise. It really did. And value to performance mostly is where I got that shock value. Actually, I never looked up the price until I wrote this and just before shooting this video. I knew it was in the $300 price range. But for what you get... it's in the range of the High Senior Mega 5P, the Penon Fan 2, the ISN Neo 5. All these ones I recently reviewed, so they're all fresh in my mind. I can't think of another IM I have tried recently that sounds like the SR5 in its presentation, and that makes it addictive for me, and a missing link for me in my daily rotational arsenal, and maybe you too. I have a lot of sets because I gravitate towards maybe slightly warmer, darker, Zen's up kind of presentation. My Penons, the ISNs, I like the that, and this is something different, and I fell for it. My last few impressions, yeah, that I did were the ISN Neo 5, a fun V-shaped IM with slamming bass, $279. High Senior Mega 5P, a laid back, warm, dark chill set, $239. Penon Fan 2, a mild bass, or like a mid bass, sorry, vocal beast with a more neutral tone, $279. And here comes along the SR5, a different kind of awesome. The SR5 is more of a vocal, tilted, mildly boosted, treble tuned IM. And that's where it sits. I love this hobby. I love this hobby. I can totally appreciate why someone would pick up any of these sets and would so depend on your mood. But why would I pick up the SR5? Well, for me, the highs are addictive. Without being over the top. And again, a little bit treble sensitive. Doesn't push any of my panic buttons. I love my vocals, especially female vocals. And the SR5 honestly resonates with me like the Fan 2 did. Coming off spending some serious quality time with the Mega 5P on paper, they kind of look the same. And here's where I'll pull up a graph. Up until about 400 hertz, and then the SR5 adds in this little bump of energy from 400 to 900 hertz over the Mega 5P, and that adds some special sauce in the vocals and becomes the start of a completely different sound signature between the two. Where the 5P is laid back with warm mids and a slightly darker, relaxed treble, the SR5 goes the opposite way. With more energy up top, the bass sounds less prominent, even though on paper they may look the same as the 5P. You can blame our brain for that one. The vocals become more prominent up where you start getting into 6K and 12K rise in the SR5 tunings. And this adds a ton of micro details and puts string instruments at equal level with the slightly forward vocals. And the extra upper harmonics lends itself nicely to a 3D soundstage. That's where it's getting it from. So, in conclusion, it's a really great set for someone looking for a slightly tilted, higher energy set, but wasn't a treble head. Someone who would prioritize vocals, both male and female, without sacrificing instrument details and dynamics. That is, to talk about also the bass quality over quantity. So that's also someone who would pick up this set. Again, more tilted towards sub bass over mid bass. So if you like fast, snappy bass, which I do, and you wanted to get, that's probably why I wanted to see a little bit more of this, because that's my preference, right? Price to performance seekers, look no further. You have found an excellent value for your repertoire. In comparison, that was the end of that. In comparison, High Senior Mega 5P, where the 5P played back darker, lusher, and had a more organic nature, the SR5 would sound bright in comparison. And sound also cleaner and more dynamic. Where the 5P would prioritize male vocals and sacrifice perfect vocal replay, the SR5 tilts the other way, and female vocals and instrumental are getting the most notice. Both are wonderful, but what are you in the mood for, really? When you would choose one or the other, right? Pen-on Fan 2. The F2, the mid bass has mid bass to the moon, and I love the mid bass. Some people don't. Vocals, it also was a standout and just an addictive playback. In Penon's most neutral set is what you get with the F2. The SR5, in comparison, moves the focus of the bass from the mid bass of the F2 to more of the sub bass region. Takes away a bit of that snappy punch that some people don't like, but still keeps the vocals in play. The F2 and the SR5 had good treble, but the SR5 adds more energy and more extension above the Fan 2. ISN Neo 5. This is a bass beast. This IAM focuses on the 2/3 of the bottom sound spectrum. Huge bass boost over the SR5. Way more V-shape with a relaxed treble. So again, different from all these other ones as well. Another flavor of 1.4, like a 1 and 4 5 driver per side configuration, and again quite different sound profile. So I love all three for different reasons, and I feel quite blessed actually to listen and experience these sets and share them with you. So that's it for now on this set. So thank you very much for watching my video. It's much love going from me out to you. Thank you. Cheers.